very called to become a member of the Catholic Church.
Love the Catholic Church. It's just the best place to be.
From the studios of EWTN, this is Open Line. In North America, call toll-free 1-800-585-9396. That's 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985. You can also send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's Open Line Tuesday on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day. If you've got a question about the life issues for our pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan, the number is 1-800-585-9396. That's toll-free anywhere in North America. 1-800-585-9396. If you're outside the United States and Canada, we'd love to hear from you. Your number is 1-205-271-2985, and we will put you straight to the front of the line at 1-205-271-2985. Or you can send us an email, openline@ewtn.com. I'm Jack Williams. Elena Rodriguez produces the program, and your call screener is Mr. Matt Gubensky. Our hostess, she is every Tuesday, our very own pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan. Goldilocks, how are you?
Oh, I'm just great. How about you?
If I were any better, there'd be two of me.
Goodness, I don't know if we could handle that.
Yeah, I don't. Your lovely producer, Elena Rodriguez, is indicating that there's no way she can handle that.
Oh, please, God.
No, everything's good. We're all we're all blessed.
Yeah, my waistline would tell me that we're bordering on two of me now. So I need to.
No comments.
Yeah, I need to take a deep breath there. 1-800-585-9396. Barbara, you always come to the table with a list of I started to say a list of demands. A list of
Thank you for rephrasing that.
A list of topics that you'd like to talk about. Where do you want to start today?
But here's the reason why. I cannot stand small talk. That is the honest to God truth, Jack. I have sit on radio. You know how so many of the secular stations, they talk about nothing and then they discuss it, you know? And so I always like to have everything that is said to be, I mean, I love to kibitz too, but everything that is of substance, because I feel like we only have so much time to do these things.
I've put my playing cards away. Let's get into it.
You got to know when to hold them. Okay, well, all right. So if you want to talk about what I want to talk about, this would be a good idea, because remember last week when we found out that on January 1st, 2016, that all healthcare providers, if they have a conversation with Medicare patients about advanced planning, okay, like an end-of-life sort of talk, what they called it in the Wall Street Journal was kill yourself talks. We learned that they will be reimbursed. If they do that, they will be reimbursed. Okay, so we talked about that last Tuesday. Okay, on Wednesday, my husband comes home from his primary care doctor, and he comes home with this hot pink, happy, slappy looking paper.
Oh, okay.
That is the physician orders for life-sustaining treatment, a POLST form. Actually, is what it is, POLST, which means physician orders for life-sustaining treatment. And I was stunned when I told him, I said, Pop, we were just talking about this yesterday on Open Line. I said, did you get a kill yourself talk? And he goes, yes. He said, I did. And not in those words, but he did receive that talk. So I was just floored by that. So I really got down to business and started studying about POLST, P-O-L-S-T. And what I found out is it's a paper that you absolutely fill out, right? And in some states, it's called POST. Some states, it's called MOLST, sometimes MOST in some states, or COLST in some states, but it's always on either a bright pink paper or some other bright color, that so they know. And a healthcare professional or trained facilitator fills out a pulse form by asking you questions. Now, my husband's doctor gave it to him and said, just go fill this out, right? And I'm laughing because I just thought, I couldn't believe it was happening, because this is the first time. Have you ever been faced with this, Jack, pulse form?
I haven't been faced with it, but I know there's a conservative radio spot that runs talking about don't sign the pulse, and I think it's on our network. If
Could
I'm not
be.
mistaken,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it does run, but it's been running for quite a while. I haven't actually heard it in a little while, but it's been running for quite a while, saying don't sign the post.
Well, it becomes the first page of medical orders in your records, in the patient's records. And like other medical orders, these orders are immediately actionable. Okay? So, in other words, if you have a pulsed form all signed, you just might be excluded from any future decisions about your medical treatment, regardless of your decision-making capacity. If you have signed up on there, do not attempt resuscitation, DNR, in other words, do not resuscitate, and the ambulance comes, what they're told is to first follow these orders on the pulse sheet, and this is going to follow you. This will follow you right to the EMT who knocks on your door if you aren't breathing correctly or you might be having a heart attack. If you have this do not attempt resuscitation, that's the order that they have to follow. How do you like that?
I don't.
I mean, it's quite unbelievable. Okay, so then what I wanted to find out, we know that they have protective, durable power of attorney for health care. Okay, and that's a very good thing. They call it the PDP, AHC. All of these definitions are, these acronyms are going along here. But if you live in certain states, like Alabama where you live, Jack, California where I live, Alaska, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New York.
I think you read the wrong list.
No, this list, you've got to have something different because it's a state-specific form if you reside in any of these states that I'm talking about. So what we need, bottom line, and if we want to talk about this later, why the pulse is not good, I just mentioned a couple things. I think another thing to know, too, is that compassion and choices, the right to die groups, they love pulse. So that should tell you something right there. That is a very big red flag. And so what we need is a PMDD. Okay, now I looked this up because I'm not sending my husband back, and he doesn't want to go back to this doctor with this pink paper filled out. So this is what we need, and this is called the PMDD. What it stands for is Protective Medical Decisions Document. And it's formulated by the Patients' Rights Council, and it gives your agent the authority to act on your behalf and take legal action if necessary to ensure your rights are protected. And it also very clearly states that your agent does not have the authority to approve the direct and intentional ending of your life. So it's very important. And so right away, I was all set to download it, but you can't do that. There is a phone number that you call to obtain a PMDD packet specific to your state. And when you know it's in Steubenville, that makes me happy right there because I'll bet you Rita Marker had something to do with this. But I have a phone number here or a toll-free number if you don't live in Steubenville, Ohio, where you can order this form. And that's what you fill out instead of this hot pink, happy, slappy looking paper. You fill out this PMDD statement. So there you go.
We're just getting started on an open line Tuesday here on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. 1-800-585-9396 is our toll-free number. If you've got a question for Barbara McGuigan, call now. Open line Tuesday with our pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan.
Did you know that medical orders known as the POLST, or Physician Order for Life-Sustaining Treatment, are sweeping our nation, and they could put you or your loved one's life in danger? When you're unable to make decisions for yourself, the best approach is to designate someone who understands your Catholic values to make those decisions for you. Don't sign your life away. Don't sign the POLST, and don't let anyone else sign it for you. Learn more. Get the facts at cathmed.org. That's cathmed.org.
Podcasts of Open Line are available within 24 hours of live broadcast. Go to EWTN.com and click on Multimedia.
Hi, this is Dr. Ray Guarendi. Thank you for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Remember to like EWTN Radio on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/EWTN Radio Network. That's facebook.com/EWTN Radio Network. Barbara, don't sign the POLST.
Don't you sign it either, Jack. I'm telling you, when I saw this, I thought, oh, my goodness. And then here's what it made me think of. When I had a gallbladder attack and my husband had to call 911, okay, if I had signed this hot pink paper, they would not have been able to do anything for me. I'm serious. This is quite amazing. If I had signed, do not attempt resuscitation, not that I was still breathing, that's not the point. But I mean, they would have taken a different course of action.
To the phones we go. Our leadoff hitter today is Mary in Washington State. Mary, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I have a dilemma. I have a disabled sister who's on Medicaid, who's been bedridden for 40 years. She's on morphine and Vicodin, which only takes the edge off the pain. She suffers horribly all the time. And I had gotten a document specific for the state of Washington from Priest for Life and had it filled out and notarized and had her sign it. And when she went to her doctor talked her out of it and made her sign the post and that she didn't, and the DNR, and she said that if she a feeding tube would be a medical procedure. So here's the problem: I have durable power of attorney, and my sister is a fallen away Catholic. She doesn't believe in redemptive suffering. She suffered so much; she's afraid of suffering anymore, and she won't let me. She says I have to do her wishes. And so my dilemma is, in my own conscience, I can't tell the doctor they can starve her to death or thirst her to death if she's in a coma and can't speak for herself, and yet I'm supposed to do her wishes. And I just don't know what to do about this. I don't know what the Catholic Church would teach about the state of my conscience for that.
Well, I'm glad you asked that because this is really important. Is your sister a practicing Catholic? I mean, I understand that she's
away Catholic. She doesn't believe it. She was told horrible things about the Catholic Church. She believes it turned pagan, and she doesn't believe in redemptive suffering. She just doesn't want to suffer anymore. I tried to explain to her about how they could euthanize her and everything. She's just going with the doctor, and the doctor didn't even send the form into the insurance. She refused to do it.
But here's the thing. Are they doing adequate pain care for her?
Well, yeah, she's got as much morphine and Vicodin as they will, allow her to have, but it only takes the edge off her pain, and they've taken her muscle relaxer away. She can only lay on one side because the surgery was on the other side, so she can only lay on one side of her neck, and they took the muscle relaxer away, so she has horrible muscle spasms. She just suffers horribly all the time. Right now she's in the hospital because she's had impacted bowels from all the medication. Medication,
yeah. This is such a sad situation. But we have to realize she is in pain, but they have made great strides in pain control. I'm wondering if possibly another doctor should be consulted to see what more could be done for your sister, because end-of-life decisions are really among the most important medical decisions that people can make. And what I was surprised, I read this wonderful white paper yesterday, and I encourage you to, if you want to email me and I'll send it back off to you, it's from the Lineker Quarterly, 80, it says, and it's called the White Paper, the Pulsed Paradigm and Form, Facts and Analysis. And the whole thing is, when we are Catholic, we are in a situation where we don't have to have, and we know this, any extraordinary treatment. You see, that is for certain. We do not have to be hooked up to machines, but we must have ordinary treatment. Patients are obligated to respect their own lives and to conserve them by pursuing those medical treatments that are ordinary, as well as to accept the most basic forms of human care. In other words, you've got to make sure that you have medically assisted nutrition and hydration, because that is normal. That's ordinary care. She always has that, or she doesn't need that, right? Does she need nutrition and hydration? Does she have a feeding tube?
Well, she hasn't gone into a coma. She's in the hospital for something else right now.
Okay, so...
But the thing is, with my durable power of attorney, if she were to go into a coma and couldn't speak for herself, I'm conscience bound to follow her wishes, but I can't do that. My conscience won't let me, and she won't let me change anything.
Oh, wow, boy. Well, you know what? I would say that you should talk to your priest, and I would advise you to talk to a couple other people. She's an excellent lady. Her name is Julie Grimstad, and she is one of the founders of the hospice, pro-life hospice care, Hospice Alliance.
How do I get a hold of her?
Actually, Pro-Life Healthcare Alliance is what it's called. Do you have access to the internet?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, then you would just put in prolifehealthcare.org, prolifehealthcare.org. And you would be able to pull up, or Pro-Life, that has it on their website. And I can actually, if you want to leave your information with my call screener, I will contact her to see if it would be all right if you give her a call, because this is why Catholic hospices are being organized now, and they're really trying to get them in every single state. She would have correct information for you and how to handle this situation, because you are in a dilemma, there's no doubt about it, because they would not respect your wishes anyway. Yeah. Because that is a fact. That's in the white paper too, that your agent has no say if you have signed a do not resuscitate. So you need to talk to see what your options are. You need to talk to them, and also probably she would recommend an attorney for you to talk to as well.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Mary, for the phone call, and stay on the line. Our call screener, Matt, will get your information, so hang on the line there. Now we're going to move to the great state of Indiana, where Brian's listening on FM 106.3. Brian, thanks for calling. You're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hey, Brian.
Hi, thank you. How are you?
Great, thanks. What can we do for you?
Well, I am actually calling to comment on these pink forms that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I am, in a way, on the other side of the fence on these forms, because I have been a first responder for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have ran on calls where, they have do not resuscitate orders. And with those, our hands are legally tied.
Amen.
And I don't know how many people know what it's like to be called, through dispatch for not breathing, difficulty breathing, and you have family members in that house with you. But because of that pink piece of paper, everybody in that room literally, and I have sat and watched people die in front of me because of those poles.
Like, what if you just had to go do a Heimlich maneuver or something? That, you know, maybe that's all the person. That's why the shortness of breath, whatever. You wouldn't even be able to do a Heimlich maneuver, could you?
Our hands are legally tied. If we were to, you know, morally, we don't want to sit there and watch somebody die.
No.
You know, nobody does. But if we attempt any sort of rescue, we are putting ourselves, you know, our departments and our families in a position to be slapped with a lawsuit.
I believe that. Oh, boy, do I believe that. Wow.
And, you know, it's just, you know, it's one of those things, you know, nobody likes to go home and say, wow, I just watched somebody die. I could have saved them with that piece of paper with, you know, nothing more than trees and ink to stop me from, you know, saving a life.
You know, I mean, there you hear it, folks, right from a first responder. I mean, this is really very serious because how can you check? Like my husband, he had open heart surgery 3 years ago, Brian, but he's fine now. He's even healthier than he was then. How could he sign this, do not attempt resuscitation, when he doesn't even have a clear understanding of what he's confronted with if and when he has an emergency? I mean, how can they expect you to sign this? What it really all comes down to is the bottom line, money. I read where 28% of people require Medicare in the last stages, of emergencies, and then 14% in their last 6 months or last year of life, something like that. So the state or the government, I guess you would say the state in this case, saves between $3,000 and $6,000 a person if you have a DNR. So you don't have intensive care. You're not even taken to a hospital, for Pete's sake. What do you do then when the person dies? Do you have any responsibility then?
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, we have to call back into dispatch and let them know that this person has just passed away. We have signals and codes for everything. And we have to then wait, for the coroner to show up.
Wow.
So, this whole time we're standing in a room with a person that was, breathing 5 minutes ago and is now, gone. And then we've got family who are just absolutely, they're literally emotional wrecks. Yes. And who it gets taken out on is us because we didn't do our job. Right. But that piece of paper stops us from doing that job. And, you can't explain that to a family member who just called, 911 for help for us to do nothing. And it's hard on us as well. We're people too. We have emotions. We didn't get into this business to, make loads of money because, a lot of us are volunteers. We don't make anything. Yeah. And, it's terrible.
Oh, God love you. Well, what if a person has what I'm going to order for myself and my husband and anyone else I can get to do, the PMDD packet from Steubenville, Ohio. It's from the Patients' Rights Council. Then they will be able to turn this in, as I understand, to their doctor. My husband's not going to sign this pink piece of paper, that's for sure. So he will turn in this. Have you ever been up against something like that?
We have not. The closest thing I guess I would say that we've had to that is we had to do not resuscitate. Mm-hmm. And the family member that was there was able to contact the power of attorney. Okay. And they gave us the okay to proceed with resuscitation. Mm-hmm. Okay. So in that case, we were able to resuscitate because essentially for that specific call, the power of attorney voided that agreement for that specific time.
Thanks so much, Brian, for that phone call. We appreciate it. Open Line Tuesday rolls on with questions for our pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan.
EWTN Radio is drawing people of all races, nations, and walks of life to the life of Christ.
My father has a physical disability. Because of that, he cannot always make it to the Mass. Thanks to EWTN's airing the daily Mass, he's right there following along.
With satellite radio, I can listen to any show on EWTN's Catholic programming.
EWTN, truly the global Catholic radio network.
Was the Big Bang finely tuned for the development of human life? The evidence from physics has led many to answer yes. Take, for example, the gravitational force constant and the weak force constant. If they were off by 1 part in 10 to the 50, then the universe would have either collapsed in on itself or exploded in its initial expansion, obviously making life impossible. Consider further how if the strong nuclear force constant was 2% higher, then no hydrogen would exist. If it were 2% lower, then only hydrogen would exist, and consequently no heavier elements such as carbon. No hydrogen, no carbon, no life. Such finely tuned constants have led many physicists to conclude that the only rational explanation is a supercalculating intellect that set the constants with the anthropic values that they have. I'm Carlo Broussard with your Magis Minute, the Magis Center at magiscenter.com.
Something amazing is happening on EWTN. One wildly dynamic speaker and a team of young missionaries are on a cross-country road trip, spreading their message of hope in Christ. Their passion is awakening youth to the power of God's love. It's energetic, honest, affirming, like nothing you've seen on TV before. You're Amazing with Justin Fatica, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Global Catholic Network, EWTN.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Be sure to tune in to EWTN Television tonight. Mother Angelica Live Classics. Mother talks about trust. That's tonight, 8 Eastern on EWTN Television. And tomorrow night on EWTN Live, Father Mitch welcomes the National Director of Family Theater Production, Father David Guffey, and he'll demonstrate how media can be created to evangelize, entertain, and educate families. That's tomorrow, 8 Eastern on EWTN Television. Back to the phones we go. Mary is in Chicago, Illinois, listening on Sirius XM Channel 130. Mary, thanks for holding. You're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Mary.
Yes. In the early part of my marriage, I had 2 ectopic pregnancies, and I was counseled by the doctors that they were not viable pregnancies and that they needed to be terminated. And I did terminate them. And over the course of the years, I never thought about it until recently. I started thinking about if terminating those pregnancies is against the Catholic faith.
Well, no, because you would have to understand the principle of double effect. Have you ever heard of that moral principle? No. Okay. No. Well, it is morally acceptable to perform an act that has at least 2 effects, one good and one bad, under the following conditions. These are the conditions. The act to be done must be good in itself, or at least indifferent. The good effect must not be obtained by means of the evil effect. The evil effect must not be intended for itself, but only permitted. There must be a proportionately grave or serious reason for permitting the evil effect. Now, let's apply that to a woman with a tubal or ectopic pregnancy. The act of removing a diseased or injured fallopian tube is good in itself. You could die, right? The baby is not able to grow in your fallopian tube, right? So the fallopian tube can burst, and not only will the baby die, but you will die as well. So the act of removing a diseased fallopian tube is good in itself. The good effect of saving the mother's life, right, is not obtained by the evil effect of the unborn baby's death, but by the removal of the diseased or injured fallopian tube. The evil effect of the unborn baby's death is not intended for itself. You see, the goal in this whole surgery is not to kill the baby, but to save the mother's life. It's not intended, the death is not intended, but it's only permitted. See, the intention is to remedy the diseased fallopian tube. And then there's one more. There is a proportionately grave or serious reason, the potential for the fallopian tube to burst, as I mentioned, and cause the mother's death, for permitting the evil effect. So there's a proportionally grave reason for permitting the evil effect, the death of the unborn child, which is an evil effect, but the grave reason was that the mother would die as well and the baby can't grow in a fallopian tube. So that is the principle of double effect. So ectopic pregnancies, what I would wish sometimes, Mary, is that they would, and Dr. Nathanson used to talk about this sometimes, is that they would be able to remove the pregnancy from the fallopian tube and help it to implant into the side of the uterus.
Because that was never even an option that was ever discussed.
No. Well, it isn't. To my knowledge, they can't. Jack, do you know about that? They can't.
I don't believe
they don't
so,
do that now. I don't think so. But Dr. Nathanson was saying if that could ever be achieved in medicine, then that would be a good thing as well, because it's very sad to lose a baby, no matter how you lose the baby. So, but no, the principle of double effect applies, Mary.
Does that put your mind at rest, Mary?
Yes, it does.
Great.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
it does.
God
Thank
bless you, dear heart. Thanks for calling.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Next up is Michelle in the great state of Missouri, listening on Queen of Heaven Radio. Michelle, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I have this pink paper. I have not heard of this yet till I listened to your show. But my mind is just going crazy about how many scenarios this piece of paper can affect. And God bless the EMT that called in as a paramedic.
Yeah.
And my situation is, or my thought process here is, someone calls 911, a relative.
Mary, you sound like you're underwater. Is there a way you can get closer to the phone or something?
Oh, I'm here. This is
now
Michelle.
You're clear. Okay.
This is Michelle.
Oh, Michelle, I mean. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, okay. When an EMT, when 911 is called, how long does it take for somebody to figure out if this person has a pink piece of paper or not?
Well, they say it follows you. Because of the computers now, they would immediately put your pulse form in.
Okay, but you may not know until you're there. Who is this person? A car wreck.
I would. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Oh, it's the first thing you got to find out: is this person have a pink piece of paper? What is her name? Where's their driver's license?
And then your mind could go crazy thinking of all the ways. I mean, I was thinking of the Heimlich maneuver. What is all you needed was that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
What about children? If you have a child,
gosh,
are you responsible for that child to have a pink piece of paper?
Yep.
There's just so many things, and I feel so bad for these EMTs and paramedics because they are trained live.
Yeah, I know.
And why call 911 then? Why bother them? If you just fill out one of these pink pieces of paper, make sure your family understands. So if you fall on the floor and they call 911, they just wasted their time.
Right. Well, you see, this is the problem, because all other forms of advanced directives, because that's what POLST is basically. Mm-hmm. It's an advanced a healthcare advanced directive and medical orders combined. So let's say that you had a living will, you had another advanced directive such as living wills or the durable power of attorney I was talking about earlier.
Right.
But if you have signed a POLST form, none of those other forms apply. So it's I mean, it's just really serious. And I'm looking for the part where it told about the money, this money situation, and how of course you should support this because it will save the state so much money. You always have to follow the money, don't you? About these sorts of
Barbara,
things.
the paramedic that explained his situation, I've seen one of those situations on a judge show. Where the elderly lady was suing the paramedic for reviving her. She was not to be revived. She ended up losing, but his situation was where he got there and his niece, or the lady's niece, was going berserk to revive her, and he wouldn't do it, and he ended up reviving her anyway because the niece was going nuts over her aunt laying there. He was
because
sued.
I could see where in certain instances you could have family around you. You could be at a family picnic, something happens to grandma, and you're not even aware that she signed this DNR, do not resuscitate pulsed form. There you go, and there's grandma in the fire department. They can't do a thing about it. I mean, it's just unbelievable to see what we've come to. I just can't even imagine this whole thing is taking place, and yet it is. And that's why we have great people like Julie Grimstead and Dr. Brian Cobb and others who, Julie Kellett, she's a wonderful lady too. Mary Kellett it is. They are all involved in this Catholic hospice, the Pro-Life Healthcare Alliance. And this is what we need. This is what we need. But in the event of an emergency, God help us.
Thanks so much, Michelle, for that phone call. Next up is John in Cleveland, Ohio, listening on The Rock, AM 1260. John, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, John.
Hey there. Hi. How you doing, Miss McGuigan?
I couldn't be better. How about you?
Good. I got a question. It's and I hope you can answer it. Okay. When my mother was dying, God rest her soul, she's in glory with Jesus now.
Sorry.
It's okay. I know she's happy where she's at. The problem was that we were battling not only, her, getting her in proper hospice care. She wanted to die with dignity at home, but I was also battling the federal government because they wanted to warehouse her in a nursing home, and I had to threaten to come out there because she was in California, and I was in Ohio. I says, listen, if I have to take her out of there and put her in her own house, I'll do it. Now, the question I have for you is the Catholic Church right now, they are battling the federal government over everything. They're tying the hands of doctors, they're tying the hands of families with all this type of medical insurance. How can as Catholics, I guess this has really been bothering me a lot, and I'm not very eloquent as you are, but how do you guys do it? I'm just amazed and how you guys can dig in your heels and just, and fight. I know that we have the Lord on our side, but it just seems like we're battling so much of this secular progressive agenda that they almost want to kill everybody. And I'll hang up and listen for your answer. And Barb, God bless you.
Well, God bless you too. I'll tell you something. We have to stand up against this because we are actually defending the Holy Spirit from blasphemy, because all of these issues that we are up against with the HHS mandate and these other things with Obamacare, this is all, it strikes at the heart of the Catholic faith, wanting us to, for example, give contraceptives, abortifacients, sterilizations in our Catholic hospitals. And don't kid yourself, down the line, they want abortions being done in Catholic hospitals as well. So we have to stand up. Good thing is the Supreme Court's going to look again to the Little Sisters of the Poor. They're going to hear their case. And I do remember, and Jack, I bet you do too, that Justice Sotomayor was in line with the Little Sisters. Didn't she defend them at one point, which is unusual because she's not one of the ones who does this sort of thing. You remember that?
Not specifically, I don't.
She stood up for the Little Sisters of the Poor. So I immediately thought of when the Supreme Court agreed that they would listen to that case, because they are being forced by the Health and Human Services to force them to pay for contraceptives, abortifacients, and sterilizations. Right. And they can't do that. They have a large group of employees, I suppose, and otherwise, your insurance goes skyrocketing. And so, we have to stand up against it because we have to defend human life, because human life is made in the image and likeness of God. This is why you don't snuff somebody. When I heard that the pulse, all I had to do was read this pink piece of paper and my jaw was dropping. I had already heard of pulsed, but I hadn't really studied it. We mentioned this on The Good Fight, and we talked about it a bit, but that was about a year ago. And when I looked at this, and I thought, how in the world, this whole idea of final exit in compassion and choices, good night. If you think that they are full of compassion, if it's compassionate to give somebody an overdose and put a plastic bag over their head, give me a break. There's no dignity in that whatsoever. None whatsoever. We have to fight it.
Straight ahead, we'll talk to Beth in Florida, Mary in Idaho, Jason in Washington. We've still got time for your phone calls at 1-800-585-9396. Toll free anywhere in North America. Open Line Tuesday with our pro-life warrior, Barbara McGuigan.
From EWTN News Nightly in Washington, D.C., I'm Brian Patrick with your EWTN Newslink. Pope Francis outlines his vision for the church, insisting it shun all temptation of power, prestige, and money. He told the Italian bishops in Florence today he wants a church that's humble and poor, not obsessed with doctrine or acquiring power. Speaking to thousands in the industrial city of Prato, Italy, Pope Francis denounces the exploitation of illegal workers. That city was the site of a 2013 garment factory fire that killed 7 Chinese workers. A federal appeals court in Texas rules against President Obama's immigration plan. The plan would protect an estimated 5 million illegal immigrants from deportation. 26 states challenged the plan in court. And the Senate is expected to vote on a defense bill today that bans moving Guantanamo Bay detainees to the United States. President Obama has tried to do that since his term began. That bill passed the House last week. Join us tonight for EWTN News Nightly.
Tomorrow on EWTN Radio's Open Line, Father Mitch Pacwa takes your calls about the Bible, the Church, and the writings of the Pope. 3 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Hi, this is Tim Staples from Catholic Answers Live. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
This is Open Line on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. If you have a question or comment, call 1-800-585-9396. Outside North America, call 1-205-271-2985 or send an email to openline@ewtn.com.
Next up is Beth in Blountstown, Florida, listening on FM 102.7. Beth, you're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Beth.
Hello, Barbara. Hello, Jack.
Hello, Beth.
I just wonder, do these doctors just hand these forms to people and tell them to fill them out or look at them or what?
Yeah.
Brother.
Yeah. They actually, you know what? They're mandated to do this. And you know what? I wasn't going to even bring this up because I have to really look into it. So, but my husband goes to a Catholic hospital to have an appointment with this particular doctor. So I don't know if maybe he's completely not involved with that side of the hospital. I'm not sure. So I can't say for sure. But yeah, I was stunned when I saw this particular thing. And so, but they will get reimbursed. This is another thing, because I said to Bob, he already told you, he already gave you your come to Jesus talk, right? And your kill yourself talk. Maybe that's shouldn't be in the same sentence. But the whole thing is, I said he's not even going to be getting paid till January 1st for giving you this talk. When my husband said, I already had that, and he came home so deflated. I felt sorry for him. He looked like he was just, shot or something. He just looked so sad.
I just wondered, because I called my doctor, and I mentioned it to him, and the only thing that they've got is the DNR form, and they say that the patients have a choice. They don't have to sign it necessarily if they don't want to.
No, you don't. I'm
not going to. I told her. I said, I'm not going to sign it.
I mean, really, how would you know? How could you, sitting here healthy right now, and the doctor says, here, you got to take this home and fill this out. How would you know to say?
I'm not going to do it.
Well, no kidding. I know.
I'm going to make sure that everybody checks, because, and make sure that everybody checks what I've got, because I can't see it. And I don't want somebody just, Oh, thank you, Connie. Uh-huh.
Tell Connie we said hi.
Tell Connie.
Yeah, anyway, she was good enough to bring some medicine by here. But anyway, I was just, floored because I have never seen anything like this, and I'm trying to find out, because my husband goes to a different doctor, if he has unwittingly signed anything like that. Does it mean that the paramedics can't even take you to the hospital?
No. Well, not if you sign a DNR. If you are taken to the hospital, and that's B and C, okay, first they have to follow A to see if you put attempt resuscitation, CPR, okay, if you check that box, then they will attempt resuscitation. But the B part, okay, if a person has no pulse, it says, and is not breathing when not in cardiopulmonary arrest, then you follow orders in sections B and C. So in section B, you can check comfort measures only. You want to relieve pain and suffering through the use of medication by any route, positioning, wound care, and other measures. Use oxygen, suction, and manual treatment of airway obstruction as needed for comfort. And then it has in bold letters, transfer to hospital only, and only's underlined, if comfort needs cannot be met in current location. That's the best thing you can check out of this whole B
and
medical
so you
interventions.
Can get the protective form from Steubenville?
Yes, that's it. And that's what I want us all to do, because I think that this is critically important. And it is the PMDD packet. And that, of course, stands for Protective Medical Decisions Document. It's formulated by the Patients' Rights Council. And this document gives your agent the authority to act on your behalf. In other words, so you're not signing any DNR or anything, for Pete's sake. And so in order to obtain this, and I can give you this information, should I give it over the air now? Why not, huh, Jack?
Go right ahead.
Okay, the phone number that you would call, and I suppose this is if you live in Steubenville, Ohio, which is where the Patients' Rights Council is 740-282-3810. Or if you don't live in Steubenville, you call toll-free 1-800-958-5678. Because, see, what they're saying here, talking about advanced directives, that a living will can be dangerous. Because in a living will, you request or you refuse life-sustaining treatment for some future illness or injury based on pure guesswork. And this is what I've been saying. How do you know if all you need is a Heimlich maneuver? And you're not going to be given that. They don't touch you. Also, when hospitalized, your attending physician may be a stranger who does a poor job of interpreting your wishes, particularly if they do not share your values. We're going to be up against that too. Hopefully, never in a Catholic hospice, hopefully never in a Catholic hospital. Worse yet, a physician can be disciplined for failing to comply with your living will's refusal of treatment unless the physician attempts to transfer you to a physician who will comply. Therefore, a living will may tie the hands of a physician who values your life and whose skills could restore you to health. There are people that have gone on, and if they had had a DNR, they would be dead now, and now they're all out golfing on the golf course because they didn't have this pulsed form. I don't think I've ever signed this. Well, I know I haven't. Lord, all I would have had to do was read the first page.
Thanks so much, Beth, for the phone call. We'll head now to Olympia, Washington. Jason, listening on AM 1240. Jason, thanks for holding. You're on with Barbara McGuigan.
Hi, Jason.
Hello, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I've worked several years in a critical care unit, and the last 12 years in an emergency department, and I'm all in favor of the pulsed form.
Okay, and why is that?
Because we'll get patients that come in with end-stage cancer, and they're going to die, and if they don't
Are they in the dying process? Pardon me for interrupting, Jason. Are they in the dying process?
Yes.
Or they're just gonna die, maybe in a year or two?
They're in the dying process. A lot of them are on hospice, but they've never filled out the form, or they've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, are just end-stage COPD.
Okay.
They're very sick people. And working in the ICU, we can keep people alive practically indefinitely. But that's one of the reasons I left the ICU is I stopped feeling that we were doing people any favors by keeping them alive.
I don't know if you are Catholic or not, Jason, but we don't believe that a person has to have any extraordinary measures taken if they do not desire those extraordinary measures.
Yeah, and I did convert to Catholicism earlier this year.
Good. Awesome.
So Section 2278 of the Catechism is comforting. It talks about the discontinuing medical procedures that are burdensome, dangerous, extraordinary.
Right. But see, here's the thing. POLST is said to be designed for use by terminally and chronically ill elderly. But there is nothing in most POLST programs, and maybe you have never read this white paper to fully get into it more, I'm not sure, but the POLST model introduces a complete paradigm shift. Okay, we have a whole new model going now into the procedural understanding of who is entitled to direct the refusal of life-sustaining treatments. Because what they're saying now, that the POLST model annuls the requirement that a patient must be terminally ill before he or she can direct the withholding or withdrawal of life-sustaining treatments. See, what we're getting to is this is like a first stage step in some instances where you can be depressed. You're coming in and, you're just completely depressed, and they'll say, hey, did you sign the POLST, DNR, whatever? Because it starts out with this situation where you have to be terminally ill, you have to be a chronically ill elderly, but that's not the way it works in other countries. We know that from Holland, Sweden, Belgium. They're killing 5 people a day.
Well, Jason, thanks so much for that phone call, and Barbara, thank you so much for your time with us today. You certainly struck a nerve with our listeners, to be sure.
Yeah, you're welcome, Jack. Thank you, too.
And that number, the PMDD phone number from the folks in Steubenville, once again, is 1-800-958-5678. On behalf of our host, Barbara McGuigan, our producer, Elena Rodriguez, call screener Matt Kubensky, I'm Jack Williams. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day. Back at it tomorrow talking church teaching, scripture, and canon law with Father Mitch Pacwa. Until we get together then, God bless.